What if the loudest voice you've been listening to all your life, the voice that questions your worth, predicts your failure, narrates your every move, was never really you? What if the thoughts racing through your mind were not your truth, but simply echoes of conditioning, memory, and emotion, floating through the space of awareness? You see, most of us are taught to identify with the mind. We say, "I think, therefore I am," and we believe that because we think a thought, it must be real. But here's the radical truth. You are not the thoughts you think. You are the one who notices them. The moment you begin to observe your thoughts rather than become them, everything shifts. Just as you can hear a sound without becoming the sound, you can witness a thought without becoming its prisoner. This is the birth of the observer within you. It is subtle, yes, but it is the most powerful pivot you can make. It's the difference between drowning in a storm and standing calmly. In its center, imagine someone criticizes you. The usual reflex? A surge of defensiveness, hurt, or anger. You tighten, you react. But what if, instead, you noticed the reaction without acting on it? You simply said within yourself, "I feel hurt, but I am not the hurt." That one sentence creates space. And in that space, you reclaim your power. Because freedom doesn't come from eliminating emotions or thoughts. It comes from recognizing that you are the awareness behind them. You are the stillness that sees. This is not theory. It is practice. In the moment when emotion rises, when the thought screams, "You're not good enough," you get to pause and say, "There it is. I see it, but it is not me." And in that sacred pause, a miracle begins. The mind softens. The emotion loses its grip. You realize you are the container, not the content. You are the sky, not the storm. This is what it means to awaken the inner. Observe the one who doesn't argue with reality, but watches it with calm clarity. It doesn't mean you never feel. It means you don't become what you feel. You are the witness, the awareness, the silent presence that holds it all. And the moment you live from that place, your entire energetic frequency changes. You no longer feed the chaotic field of reaction. Instead, you radiate coherence, stability, and subtle power. You step out of the identity of the thinker and into the identity of the seer. As Eckhart Tolle beautifully said, "You are not the thought. You are the awareness of the thought." And this awareness is not passive. It is the most powerful creative force in your life. Because from this place, you begin to choose, not react. Choose how you see. Choose how you feel. Choose what reality you feed with your gaze. And once you realize this, you no longer chase emotional perfection to manifest. You don't try to force a good mood. You don't deny when sadness or fear appears. You simply stay steady in your seeing. This is the foundation of all frequency work. Because before you can change your vibration, you must know where your attention lives. And attention, when guided by clarity, becomes the architect of reality. Which brings us naturally to the next step in your awakening understanding that emotion is not the enemy of your manifestation, but the language of your frequency. When you begin to see your emotions not as problems to fix, but as signals to observe, your entire energy field begins to recalibrate. So let's go deeper. Let's explore how feeling becomes frequency and how the universe is not responding to what you want, but to what you are. And once you realize that you are the one who sees, not the one who thinks, the next shift begins to reveal itself, an inner evolution from I think to I am. This is not just a change in language. It is a shift in identity, a reorientation of your awareness from being lost in thought to being grounded in presence. When you say, "I think I'm not ready," you unconsciously fuse yourself with the thought. You become the thought, and your body responds as if it were truth. But when you say, "I'm having a thought that I'm not ready," you introduce space. You take a step back from the content of the mind and return to your center. That space is everything. It is where freedom begins. Most people are imprisoned not by circumstance, but by unconscious identification with what the mind produces. A thought arises fear, doubt, shame, and instantly it becomes who they are. But when you train yourself to say, there is a thought about fear, you are no longer the fear. You are the one witnessing it. And that shift, however subtle, unlocks emotional freedom. No longer do you have to believe every thought. No longer do you need to fix every feeling. You begin to live from clarity instead of compulsion. Take, for example, a student preparing for an important exam. If they keep saying, I'm going to fail, their body tightens, their breath shallows, their performance collapses. But if they pause and say, I notice a thought saying I might fail, but I know it's just a thought, their nervous system begins to settle. The emotion no longer hijacks the moment. They can breathe, focus, and act from calm awareness. This is not about denial. It's about discernment. You're not pushing thoughts away. You're simply seeing them for what they are: mental events, not truths. Floating clouds, not the sky itself. And the more you practice this inner language of clarity, the more you return to your true state of being. Not, I think I'm worthy, but I am. Not, I hope I become confident, but I am the one who observes with strength. This is the shift from mental noise to inner knowing. It is the movement from identification to liberation. And the beauty of this shift is that it's available in every moment. You don't need perfect conditions. You only need willingness. Willingness to notice. Willingness to pause. Willingness to return to the seat of the observer. That is your power. That is your anchor. As one wise teacher said, a thought cannot control you unless you believe it is you. When you stop believing, you start seeing. And once you start seeing, you start choosing. Thought may still arise. Emotion may still visit, but you are no longer at their mercy. You've remembered the deeper truth beneath every thought: you are. And in that being, there is peace. In that awareness, there is choice. And in that choice, there is creation. Because now, you are no longer reacting. You are responding from presence. And from this place of presence, something even more powerful becomes available to you. The ability to see how your thoughts and emotions are wired, how your brain and body have been trained to react on autopilot. The next natural step on this journey of inner awakening is to understand the mechanism behind your emotional reactions. Why do you feel the way you feel? What triggers your automatic responses? And most importantly, how can you reclaim your freedom from these invisible patterns? To move beyond identification with thought, you must become aware of the system that fuels it. And that system, deeply embedded in your biology, is what we'll explore next. Welcome to the realm where reaction begins and where true inner power is reclaimed. And once you begin to notice your thoughts without becoming them, the next layer of awareness begins to unfold. You realize that your reactions are not just mental habits, but biological patterns deeply wired into your nervous system. You don't overreact because you're weak or broken. You overreact because your brain has been trained to protect you. Deep within your brain lies a small but powerful structure called the amygdala, often referred to as your emotional alarm system. It scans for threat, real or imagined, and the moment it senses danger, it sounds the alarm. Your heart races, your breath shortens, your muscles tighten, and before you can think clearly, you're already reacting. This mechanism was designed to keep you safe from physical harm. In ancient times, it helped you run from predators or survive dangerous environments. But in the modern world, that same system gets activated not by tigers in the jungle, but by emails, social cues, criticism, rejection, or even silence. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a perceived one. It reacts the same way to a harsh comment as it would to a physical attack. That is why you snap, withdraw, or feel paralyzed. Your system is trying to survive something it believes is dangerous. And here's the truth most people miss. Most of your emotional triggers are not about the present moment. They are echoes of the past. Childhood memories, early rejections, moments where you felt unseen, unheard, unsafe. Those wounds live in your body. And when something similar happens, even subtly, the alarm goes off. You are not reacting to what is happening now. You are reacting to what happened before, filtered through the lens of what you fear might happen again. Take, for example, someone who was often ignored or excluded as a child. Today, when they see a message left unread or don't receive a reply, their body tenses, their heart sinks. They feel the sting of abandonment. But what's really happening is that an old wound has been touched, and the brain is sounding a false alarm. When you become the observer in that moment, something powerful shifts. You pause. You breathe. You say to yourself, I feel this rising, but I know this is an old pattern. You no longer have to fight the reaction or shame yourself for having it. You simply witness it with compassion and clarity. And in doing so, you deactivate the pattern. You send a new signal to your brain. I am safe now. I am no longer that child. I am here, present, aware, and I get to choose. This is emotional evolution. You don't force the brain to stop reacting. You teach it, gently and repeatedly, that the danger is no longer here. You bring presence to places where the past once ruled. You rewire survival into safety. This is not about eliminating emotion. It's about meeting it with deeper awareness. As one wise voice put it, emotion is the voice of the past. The observer is the presence of now. And the more you live as the observer, the more those old alarms begin to quiet. You begin to walk through life with less reactivity and more responsiveness. You begin to respond to reality as it is, not as your past once feared it would be. And that is when your energy becomes clean, coherent, magnetic. But to truly unlock the power of this awareness, you must learn to create space. Space between the trigger and the response. Space between the thought and the choice. Space between what rises and what you decide to do next. In that space lies your freedom. And it is that space we will now enter. A place where observation replaces reaction, where clarity dissolves chaos, where you no longer chase emotional perfection, but create inner peace through conscious presence. Welcome to the next step. Let us now enter the space where transformation truly begins. And as you begin to understand the brain's survival wiring, something sacred becomes clear. Your freedom doesn't come from avoiding emotions or silencing them, but from creating space between the emotion and the response. This space is not physical. It's not something you can see. It's an energetic gap, a breath of awareness, a pause where possibility lives. Inner space is where your real power begins. Most people believe strength means not feeling, not being shaken, not showing emotion. But true strength is presence. It's the ability to feel fully and yet remain free. To observe anger rise without letting it define you. To notice fear and still take a calm step forward. To witness disappointment and yet speak from truth instead of reaction. That is power. That is sovereignty. The moment you say, I'm feeling anger and I see it, you break the loop. You become the one who chooses, not the one who reacts. And that changes everything. Because it's not the anger that causes chaos, it's the unconscious reaction to it. It's not the fear that blocks your manifestation, it's the identification with it. But when you create space, you move from being inside the storm to being the sky that holds it. A practical way to reclaim this space is simple. When you feel triggered, pause. Take one slow, deep breath. Then whisper inwardly, "I see this emotion, but I am not it." Let that breath anchor you. Let that phrase bring you back to your center. Then wait 3 seconds. That is all it takes. And in that brief pause, you disrupt the pattern. The nervous system softens. The story loses urgency. And you remember that you are the one who decides what happens next. You don't need to rush into reaction. You don't need to solve the feeling. You just need to stay present. That presence, that pause, becomes the womb of conscious creation. It is the place where thought ends and clarity begins. It is where you no longer carry the vibration of chaos, but begin to emanate the frequency of alignment. As Viktor Frankl once said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and our power to choose. When you master that space, you become emotionally untouchable. Not because you suppress, but because you see. Not because you control others, but because you guide yourself. And as you begin to live from that space more often, your energy shifts. You no longer match the old loops. You no longer react to life from old wounds. You begin to shape your vibration with intention. You begin to plant seeds of a new frequency in the field. You no longer just survive emotions, you alchemize them. This is not about becoming numb. It's about becoming aware. And awareness leads to alignment. Alignment leads to manifestation. But only if you can hold that inner stillness long enough to let a new reality form. Because your vibration is not set by what you feel moment to moment. It's set by the clarity you hold despite what you feel. And that clarity is only possible when you have cultivated enough inner space to see through the noise, to see through the waves, to remain as the ocean beneath. Which brings us to the final realization of this foundation, that the observer is not just a perspective, it is the very starting point of conscious manifestation. Without it, you are caught in cycles. With it, you become the source of new timelines. So let us take one more step deeper. Let us anchor this understanding by returning to the core truth. You cannot shift your energy. You cannot shape your reality unless you first remember who you truly are beneath the noise. It is time to meet the one who sees. It is time to come home to the foundation of all frequency change. It is time to become the observer. And once you discover that inner space, the silent pause where choice is born, you begin to meet the one who has always been there, the observer. This presence within you is not passive. It is not detached in apathy. It is the most powerful force in the quantum field. The observer is your creative center. It is the you beneath thought, beneath reaction, beneath emotion, the you that sees clearly and chooses consciously. In quantum terms, observation is not neutral. It is creative. The moment you observe something with clarity, without judgment, without distortion, you collapse infinite possibilities into one lived experience. Every time you choose to observe rather than react, you are not avoiding life, you are sculpting it. You are shifting your vibration in real time, and that vibration becomes the signal you send out into the quantum field. The field does not respond to your wishes. It does not respond to your words alone. It responds to your frequency. And frequency is determined by focus. Not frantic focus, not desperate wanting, but steady, loving, unwavering attention. When you hold a clear gaze, when you keep your eyes on the vision without needing it to hurry, without doubting its arrival, you transmit a consistent signal. And reality, like water, begins to shape itself around that signal. You no longer need to chase, to force, to beg the universe to deliver. You simply see and keep seeing. And in that consistency, reality bends. Take, for example, someone who feels like a failure but holds a vision of success so steadily so clearly that they no longer act from lack. They show up as if they've already become. They respond to challenges with perspective. They walk into rooms with presence. Eventually, life synchronizes with their gaze, not because they tried to escape the current moment, but because they lived inside the future version with such emotional clarity that the field had no choice but to reflect. This is not imagination. It is alignment. The observer does not look at what is. The observer sees what is becoming and stays loyal to that vision, not by resisting reality, but by choosing which reality to energize. And the most beautiful truth is this: you don't have to fix your life to shift your life. You only have to shift your gaze. As one truth so elegantly states, the one who sees, creates. You are not here to chase manifestations. You are here to realize that your presence is the power. You are the transmitter, the chooser, the artist of vibration. And in that remembering, you reclaim something sacred. You stop waiting for proof. You stop asking for permission. You begin to live as the cause, not the effect. And that is the foundation of all quantum manifestation. This is why mastering the observer is the first step, because without it, every effort becomes entangled in contradiction, but with it, you become coherent. And coherence is magnetic. So from this moment forward, let the observer become more than a practice. Let it become your identity. Let it become the place you return to each time the world tugs at your energy. Let it become the anchor for the frequency you wish to live inside. And as you walk into the next phase of this journey, you'll discover that the energy you hold is not just a reaction to life, it is the language of creation. That's where we go next, into the realm where thought becomes intention and emotion becomes frequency, into the quantum truth that you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Let us now begin part 2. Let us step into the sacred alchemy of feeling. Let us learn how to tune our emotional energy into the very frequency that life reflects. Most people on the path of manifestation are taught to think positively, to visualize clearly, to repeat affirmations with focus and intent. But what they're rarely told is this: it's not what you think that creates your reality. It's what you feel. You can think about abundance all day long. You can say, "I am successful," every morning and write it down on your vision board. But if beneath those words there's a quiet current of doubt, fear, or lack, that's the real signal the universe responds to. Because in the language of energy, thought is the sentence, but emotion is the frequency. And frequency is what tunes you into a specific timeline. Imagine two people repeating the same affirmation: "I am ready for wealth." One says it with a calm heart, a smile, a deep sense of gratitude. Their body believes it. Their energy opens. The other says it with a clenched jaw, a racing mind, and a subtle worry that whispers, "But what if it never happens?" On the outside, the words are the same, but on the vibrational level, they are worlds apart. One radiates alignment, the other radiates resistance. And the universe, always tuned into vibration, responds accordingly. This is why manifestation often feels like it isn't working, because people speak one thing, but feel another. They declare confidence, but carry unworthiness. They envision love, but still feel unlovable. And the field doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to who you are energetically. This doesn't mean your thoughts are meaningless. It means they are only powerful when backed by the emotional truth behind them. It's the emotional resonance that sends the clear signal into the field. That's why changing your life doesn't start with changing your words. It starts with changing your state. Because it's not enough to say, "I deserve good things." You have to feel it in your body. You have to embody the vibration of someone who already knows it's true. You don't manifest from logic. You manifest from emotion. Emotion is the magnet. It either pulls your vision closer or keeps it out of reach. And the key to this emotional alignment is honesty. Can you be honest about what you really feel beneath the surface? Can you witness the feeling without judging it, without pushing it away, without pretending it's not there? Because once you see it, you can shift it, not through force, but through awareness. You bring light to the emotional current, and in doing so, you begin to tune it to a new frequency. This is where real manifestation begins, not in your words, but in your vibration, not in what you project to others, but in what you radiate in silence. Because as the deeper truth reveals, you don't manifest what you say. You manifest what you feel when you're not saying anything. And to fully understand this, we must now go deeper into the nature of emotion itself, not as a mood or passing feeling, but as energy, as frequency, as the true language your future responds to. And once you understand that what you feel speaks, louder than what you say, a deeper truth emerges. Emotion is not just a personal experience, it is energy, it is frequency. Every emotion you feel carries a unique vibrational signature that ripples out from your body and into the quantum field. This field, the invisible matrix that surrounds and connects all things, is not passive. It is aware, it is intelligent, it is listening, and it listens not to your voice, but to your vibration. When you feel joy, you emit an expansive frequency. When you feel gratitude, your energy becomes magnetic, drawing in people, opportunities, and synchronicities that match that state. But when you feel fear, doubt, or shame, your vibration contracts. Your field closes. Your signal becomes scattered, and what you desire feels distant, not because it is far away, but because your current frequency is not aligned with receiving it. There are no good or bad emotions. There is only coherence or incoherence with the reality you are calling in. Emotion is not a moral issue. It is an energetic conversation. And if you want to speak clearly to the universe, you must feel clearly within yourself. Take a moment to imagine someone visualizing their dream home. One version of them steps into the image with warmth in their chest, a smile on their face, a feeling of peace as they walk through each imagined room. They feel the sunlight on their skin, the softness of the couch, the sound of laughter echoing through the walls. That feeling sends a clear, strong signal to the field. This is real. This is aligned. This is ready to be received. But another version of them visualizes the same home and feels longing, lack, and a silent ache that whispers, "I wish I had this." The house looks the same in their mind, but the frequency they emit is very different. Instead of alignment, they are broadcasting distance. Instead of magnetism, they are creating repulsion. Because the field does not respond to your images, it responds to your state. This is why two people can use the same techniques, the same vision boards, the same affirmations, and get completely different results. The difference is never in the method. It is in the frequency behind it. You are an energetic transmitter. Every emotion you feel becomes a signal you broadcast. And the more coherent that signal is with your desired outcome, the faster the field responds. This is the law of vibration in action. This is why gratitude is so powerful. Not because it's positive, but because it is aligned. Gratitude tells the field, "I already have it. I already feel it." And that certainty is magnetic. It draws life toward you. Emotion, then, becomes your most direct tool for manifestation, not by trying to control it, but by learning how to listen to it, speak through it, and shift it when needed. And that shift does not require pretending. It requires presence. You don't need to force yourself to feel better. You need to become aware of what you're feeling and ask, is this frequency helping me connect with what I want? Or is it keeping me distant from it? That question alone brings clarity, because once you see the feeling, you are no longer fully inside it. You have created space between the energy and the identity. That space is where transformation begins. And so the key is not to resist low emotions, but to recognize them as signals. They are not blocks. They are information. And once you become fluent in the language of energy, you begin to live differently. You check in with your body more than your to-do list. You prioritize alignment over hustle. You trust feeling over force. Because now you know emotion is energy, and the field always listens. It is not judging you. It is mirroring you. It is giving form to the frequency you hold most often. So the real work is not to chase a better future. It is to tune yourself to the vibration that matches it. But how do you do that when your emotions seem automatic, when reactions take over, when the day pulls you in a dozen directions? That brings us to the next step, learning how to witness emotion without judgment. Because the secret to mastering your vibration begins with one powerful skill: conscious emotional awareness. Let us now step into that space where feeling becomes feedback, and awareness becomes the gateway to energetic mastery. And once you begin to understand that emotion is energy and the field always listens, the next step becomes vital. Not controlling emotion, not escaping it, but learning how to witness it without judgment. This is where true recalibration begins. Because the moment you judge a feeling, you resist it, and resistance locks it in place. Most people, when faced with emotions like anger, sadness, fear, or anxiety, react in one of three ways. They avoid it, suppress it, or try to override it with forced positivity. But all three create inner conflict. Avoidance says, "This feeling is wrong. I shouldn't be experiencing it." Suppression says, "This feeling is dangerous. I need to hide it." And false positivity says, "I have to replace this with a better feeling now." But the field doesn't respond to forced emotion. It responds to truth. And the truth is, emotion doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be seen. It needs to be honored. Because beneath every emotional wave is a message, a signal, a frequency that wants to be acknowledged. When you bring pure awareness to a feeling, without naming it good or bad, without analyzing its cause, without attaching a story to it, the energy begins to soften. You step out of identification and into observation. And in that space, the emotion can move, shift, release. Imagine this simple practice. You feel anxiety rise in your chest. Instead of thinking, "I need to get rid of this," you pause. You place your hand over your heart. You breathe slowly. And you say quietly inside, "I see you." No fixing, no arguing, just presence. That act of gentle witnessing tells your nervous system, "I am safe to feel." And safety is the foundation of all emotional alchemy. Because emotion does not demand understanding. It demands attention. It demands attention. The mind may want to dissect it, label it, or explain it, but the body simply wants to be felt. And when you feel it without force, you liberate it. This is the beginning of emotional mastery. Not through control, but through connection. Not through effort, but through awareness. As one powerful reminder puts it, a feeling only needs to be seen, not solved. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is energetic honesty. It is saying, yes, this is here, and I am not afraid to feel it. Because when you stop being afraid of your emotions, they stop controlling your vibration. And when you witness them with compassion, they begin to transform on their own. The body knows how to process energy. It just needs permission. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which emotions rise and fall. And the more you practice staying present with what arises, the less reactive you become. You stop being a victim of your internal weather, and you start becoming the sky that holds it all. This witnessing practice is not just for healing, it is the foundation of manifestation. Because when you can observe any emotion without being swallowed by it, you remain in the frequency of choice. You stay anchored in your desired vibration, even while waves move through you. That consistency is what tells the field, I am ready. Not because you feel perfect all the time, but because you've learned how to stay clear, grounded, and energetically aligned no matter what arises. This is emotional power. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, unwavering, magnetic. And from this new relationship with emotion, you unlock the ability to choose. You are no longer at the mercy of what shows up inside. You are now free to cultivate the feelings that match the future you are calling in. So let us take the next step. Let us learn not only how to witness emotion, but how to intentionally align with the energy of your desired reality. Because now that you can hold space for what is, you are finally ready to feel into what can be. Let us move forward into the space where emotional alignment becomes your most powerful tool for creation. And now that you've remembered how to observe emotion without judgment, you've opened the gateway to your most powerful creative tool, the ability to intentionally align how you feel with what you see. This is the real secret behind manifestation. It's not enough to imagine a better future. You must begin to feel it as if it were already real. Because while the mind visualizes, it is the heart that magnetizes. The mind may construct the image, but the body must believe it. And belief is not just thought. Belief is sensation. When you close your eyes and picture your dream life, the image alone is only the first layer. It is a blueprint. But what brings that blueprint to life is the emotional frequency you emit while seeing it. If you picture your dream home but feel stressed, doubtful, or desperate, you're sending a mixed signal. But if you picture that same home and feel peace in your chest, joy in your breath, and gratitude in your skin, you're broadcasting a clear and coherent frequency. That coherence is what draws timelines into form. This is known as emotional alignment, and it's not about pretending. It's about presence. Instead of just seeing the house, feel the warmth of the sunlight touching your face as you sit by the window. Smell the tea steaming gently in your favorite cup. Hear the soft breeze moving through open curtains. Let your nervous system experience the future as if it's already here. That emotional experience becomes your broadcast. It tells the field, this is who I am now. And the field, ever responsive, begins to rearrange circumstances to match your dominant state. This is not daydreaming. This is energetic anchoring. The more often you return to that feeling, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the faster it manifests. Because you're no longer vibrating from want, you're vibrating from presence. This is why the most effective visualization practices are not long or forced. They are simple, intentional, and emotionally rich. Just 5 minutes each day can shift your entire field. Sit quietly, close your eyes, see your vision, but more importantly, feel the version of you who already lives inside it. Don't try to force a feeling. Just allow it to rise gently. A smile, a breath, a soft knowing sensation that says, I am here now. The secret is not to get it. The secret is to feel it real now. Because when your heart and your vision become one, reality responds without resistance. But this level of emotional alignment isn't just for quiet mornings or perfect moments. It must be practiced even when life feels messy, even when your emotions are noisy. Because your true power lies in your ability to return to alignment not only when it's easy, but especially when it's not. And that brings us to a deeper layer of mastery, the ability to hold emotional coherence even when circumstances tempt you to spiral. The next step on your path is learning how to stay aligned with your vision, regardless of what's happening outside or inside of you. Because true manifestation is not emotional perfection. It is emotional consistency. Let us now step into that space where your vision remains steady, even when your feelings waver, where you don't just feel aligned occasionally, but where you begin to live in alignment no matter what. This is the foundation of unwavering energetic clarity, and it is here that the true shift begins. And once you've learned how to align your emotions with your vision in single, intentional moments, the next realization becomes clear. Lasting transformation comes not from temporary peaks, but from a permanent shift in your emotional set point. This is where manifestation becomes a lifestyle, not just a practice. Because reality does not bend to one good visualization, one elevated emotion, or one inspired meditation. It reshapes itself in response to the frequency you live in most. Consistently, think of your emotional state as your personal broadcast tower. Each day, each hour, each subtle mood becomes a signal you're sending to the field. And just like a radio station, you are constantly tuned to a certain emotional wavelength. For some, that baseline is worry. For others, it's frustration. And for a few who have trained themselves, it's peace, clarity, or gratitude. This baseline, your emotional set point, becomes the anchor that shapes the events, people, and opportunities drawn into your life. And the beautiful truth is, this set point is not fixed. It can be shifted. It can be recalibrated. You are not a victim of the feelings that visit you. You are the one who decides which feelings get to stay. And the way you decide is by becoming conscious of your defaults. Start noticing not just how you feel during meditation or quiet moments, but how you feel in traffic, during a deadline, in conversations, when you're alone, when you're waiting, when nothing is happening. These are the moments that form your dominant vibration. Because manifestation doesn't respond to your occasional effort. It responds to your usual energy. The work, then, is not in achieving emotional perfection, but in choosing emotional patterns. Instead of allowing stress to be your home base, you start cultivating calm. Instead of living in doubt, you practice choosing faith, not as a performance, but as a new identity. This is where emotional alignment turns into energetic embodiment. You stop doing manifestation. You start being it. Take the example of someone who used to wake up every day with anxiety. They noticed the pattern. They didn't fight it. They began placing their hand on their heart, breathing slowly, and inviting in the vibration of peace. At first, it felt unnatural, but with daily repetition, the nervous system adapted. The chemistry of the body shifted. Within weeks, they began waking up in a different frequency. And with that shift came synchronicities, conversations, and breakthroughs that had once felt impossible. Not because life suddenly changed, but because their signal changed and life followed. This is the power of the emotional set point. It becomes your magnetic identity, and the more intentional you are about cultivating it, the more reliable your manifestations become. This is not about controlling every emotion. It's about creating a new energetic average, one that is aligned with your vision, rooted in your values, and steady enough to guide your choices. Because when your default state becomes peace, when your set point becomes clarity, when your normal becomes gratitude, then you don't have to chase alignment anymore. You live from it. And that, in turn, creates a reality that mirrors your consistency. As the wisdom says, the frequency you maintain is the reality you live. So ask yourself, what emotion do I return to the most? What energy am I broadcasting even when I'm not trying? That is your point of attraction. That is the climate of your field. And that is what determines how fast and how clearly your desires take form. Now, as you begin to live from this new emotional foundation, a new doorway opens. One where your energy is steady enough to begin shaping timelines deliberately, using not just emotion, but the sharpness of your focus. You've anchored your vibration. You've stabilized your inner frequency. And now it's time to activate the next phase, where focus becomes fuel, and your attention becomes the power that shapes your future in real time. Let us now step into the next part of your journey. Let us move from alignment to activation, where what you look at begins to form under the weight of your unwavering gaze. And once your emotional set point shifts and your inner signal becomes steady, something extraordinary begins to unfold. Your focus, once scattered and reactive, becomes a precise instrument of creation. This is where the observer effect becomes more than a theory. It becomes your lived reality. In quantum physics, the observer effect is not metaphorical. It is measurable. It reveals that the act of observing a particle changes its behavior. What was once a wave of infinite possibilities collapses into a single outcome when someone watches. You are that someone. And this principle doesn't stop at subatomic particles. It permeates your daily life. Every time you focus your attention, you are collapsing potential into form. You are no longer a passive witness. You are a programmer, coating the field with your gaze. And what you look at with consistency, intensity, and emotion begins to reorganize itself around you. If you constantly observe lack, scarcity, and limitation, you reinforce those patterns in the quantum field, not because they are more real, but because you feed them energy through your focus. You validate them, you lock them in. But the moment you shift your attention toward expansion, possibility, and abundance, even if it feels unfamiliar at first, you begin to breathe life into a different timeline. One where new opportunities find you. One where synchronicities seem to multiply. This is not wishful thinking. It is quantum alignment. Imagine your attention as a beam of energetic light. Whatever you shine it on begins to warm up, grow, and take form. The longer you hold it steady, the stronger that form becomes. You may have noticed this in everyday life. When you focus on your health, you start noticing better habits, resources, and inspiration. When you obsess over problems, you begin to see more of them. Your focus doesn't just observe reality, it writes it. It speaks directly to the quantum field. That is why becoming aware of where your gaze lands is the first act of conscious creation. And not just what you're focusing on, but how you're focusing on it. Because it's not only the target of your attention that matters, but the energy behind it. If you look at your vision with doubt, you feed it hesitation. If you look at it with love, you nourish it with life. That subtle emotional signal is what tells the field whether to open or delay. So the question becomes, not just what are you looking at, but what are you radiating while you look? The answer to that determines the quality of energy flowing into your timeline. Let us now move deeper into this understanding. Because attention alone is not enough. The frequency behind your attention is the true architect of your reality. Let us explore how your inner gaze, when charged with belief and love, becomes the magnetic force that bends timelines. Let us step into the sacred art of energetic observation, where every look becomes a seed and every seed grows a future. And now that you understand your gaze does more than observe, it programs. You must realize the true fuel behind that programming is energy. Every timeline, every possible future, exists like a dormant seed waiting for the nourishment of your focused attention. Just as sunlight and water awaken a seed beneath the soil, your attention energizes a specific outcome and breathes it into movement. This is why focus is not just mental. It is magnetic. Your energy flows wherever your focus goes, and that flow feeds the timelines you are activating, moment by moment. Your future does not grow from chance. It grows from where you continually place your attention and with what emotion you do so. Imagine two individuals with the same business idea. One takes time each day to close their eyes, breathe, and visualize customers receiving their product with joy, feeling gratitude ripple through their heart. They do not merely think about success, they feel it, see it, energize it. The other person lets the idea drift into the background, consumed by distractions and daily worries. 6 months pass. One begins seeing progress, traction, new contacts, unexpected opportunities. The other still waits for the right moment. The difference was not luck, it was focus. Consistent, energetic attention is what breathes life into a possibility. The field does not respond to passive wishing. It responds to energized intention. This is why when you truly desire to shift your life, you must choose where to send your focus each day as consciously as you choose the food you eat or the words you speak. Attention is nutrition for reality. When you pour it into something, daily, even for just a few minutes, you are telling the field, this matters. Build this. Expand this. And the field always listens. But there's more. Because the power of your focus is not only in its direction, it is also in its depth. A scattered focus spreads your energy thin. A centered, loving gaze concentrates it like a beam of light. And the more consistent your focus becomes, the faster the timelines begin to take shape. Future timelines bloom where your attention lingers. So the question becomes, what are you watering? Are you nourishing visions of growth, joy, and alignment? Or are you unconsciously feeding timelines of doubt and delay? The energy you send, repeatedly and intentionally, becomes the blueprint that reality follows. And when you practice holding your attention steady, even in the face of external noise, you become a conscious timeline gardener, choosing not just what to grow, but what to ignore, what to prune, and what to fully activate. Yet focus alone is not enough, because behind every gaze is a belief. And that belief is what determines the quality of the energy being transmitted. You could stare at your vision every day, but if your focus is laced with doubt or urgency, you are sending static into the field. But when your gaze is infused with trust, with calm certainty, with knowing, that energy becomes pure fuel. This brings us to the next level of quantum creation. Not just focus for the sake of focus, but belief-infused observation that acts like a tuning fork, calling your future into now. Let us now explore the silent engine behind all manifestation, the belief that hides behind the gaze, and how it speeds up or slows down the unfolding of your timeline. So if focus is the water that feeds your future, belief is the shape of the container that holds it. Your attention energizes, but it is your belief that formats the signal and decides how smoothly that energy flows into the field. You can look at a beautiful vision every day, imagining yourself living in abundance, love, or success. But if deep within you, there is a silent program saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, or I'll probably fail, then that belief acts like a distortion filter. The energy still goes out, but it is scattered, conflicted, hesitant, and the field reflects that same fragmentation. This is why two people can perform the exact same manifestation practice with wildly different outcomes. One person gazes at their vision with inner certainty. Their belief says, I deserve this. I am aligned with this. I trust this is mine. Their signal is clean. It cuts through the noise. It instructs the field with clarity. The other person may use the same words, same technique, same focus, but their subconscious carries fear, doubt, or resistance. They look at the vision, but beneath the gaze is tension. Their heart whispers, I hope this works, but what if it doesn't? That energy creates static. It disrupts the magnetic flow, because the field does not just read the content of your vision. It reads the energy behind your eyes. It listens to what you believe while you focus. And this is the invisible code behind all conscious creation. You are not only choosing what to water with your attention, you are also choosing what kind of water it carries. Is it infused with confidence or fear? Is it vibrating with faith or hesitation? That hidden vibration is what determines the clarity and speed of the outcome. Think of it like tuning a radio. The clearer your internal frequency, the faster you connect to the station you want. The more distorted your belief, the more static you hear. So manifestation is not just about visualizing. It's about aligning. Aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs so they form a coherent signal that the universe can respond to without confusion. Imagine someone visualizing their dream relationship. If they truly believe they are worthy of love, they attract people who reflect that worth. If they believe relationships always end in pain, they will unknowingly draw in scenarios that fulfill that script. It's not punishment. It's programming. It's not about blame. It's about awareness. Because once you see the hidden belief behind your gaze, you can begin to rewrite the code. You can replace the static with clarity. You can shift from hopeful wishing to confident knowing. And when that happens, your vision no longer feels distant. It begins to feel inevitable. This is the foundation of real quantum alignment. Not just seeing the future you want, but becoming someone who fully believes in it. And when your belief meets your focus, and both are supported by aligned emotion, manifestation becomes acceleration. So now let's explore the final ingredient. In this trilogy, how the emotion behind your vision completes the energetic equation, and why love, not force, is the highest amplifier of your timeline. So if belief is the hidden code behind the signal, then faith and doubt are the forces that either amplify or weaken that signal. They are not passive feelings. They are energetic instructions. Every vision you hold in your heart exists like a potential reality suspended in the quantum field. But how that vision responds to your gaze depends entirely on the emotional tone you bring to it. When you look at your future with gentle trust, with a quiet knowing that it is already in motion, you become energetically aligned with it. You begin to vibrate in harmony with that timeline. It feels warm, light, magnetic. But when you look at the same vision and whisper within, "I hope this works," or "I really need this to happen soon," you inject resistance into the field. Your focus may appear the same on the outside, but the frequency underneath is fractured. Doubt is not a neutral observer. It is a disruptor. It weakens the coherence of your signal. It scrambles the energy you are sending. It's like trying to tune a song on the radio while your hand keeps bumping the dial. The music cuts in and out. The field cannot lock in the signal. Consider two people visualizing the exact same outcome. Person A closes their eyes, breathes deeply, and sees themselves already living it. They smile. They feel calm. Their body relaxes into the moment. Person B closes their eyes and sees the same image, but their chest is tight. Their mind says, "I wish, but I doubt it." One is broadcasting from alignment. The other is sending mixed messages, and the field always reflects the clearest signal. This is why some manifestations feel stuck, not because the desire is wrong or the method is flawed, but because the emotional current beneath the vision is laced with uncertainty. And here's the quiet truth most never realize. Faith is not blind optimism. It is energetic clarity. It is choosing to hold a loving gaze even when results haven't arrived yet. It is saying, "I trust the seed I planted will bloom, even if I don't see the leaves yet." It is a soft but steady inner certainty that becomes a magnet. Doubt, on the other hand, often disguises itself as logic. It whispers, "Be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Protect yourself from disappointment." But in protecting yourself, you block the flow. You create a shield that keeps the energy from reaching you, because the field is listening to the totality of your signal, not just the mental image, but the emotion and belief encoded in it. And this is why trust accelerates and doubt delays. The clearer your emotional state, the more direct the path becomes. So how do you maintain that clear focus? Without forcing? How do you keep the heart open without clinging to the outcome. The answer lies in the energy of surrender, in learning to see your vision with love, not need, in releasing the tight grip of urgency and replacing it with a soft, open certainty. And that brings us to the most graceful shortcut in all of quantum creation, the loving gaze of surrender, and how it becomes the most powerful frequency you can hold. Once you understand that doubt dilutes and trust amplifies, the next revelation emerges like a gentle light. The highest form of trust is not control, it is love. Not a passive, wishful love, but an active, magnetic affection toward your vision. When you gaze at your dream with love instead of desperation, when you observe it not with fear of losing it, but with gratitude that it exists, you create the most powerful alignment in the quantum field. Love is not attachment. Love is clarity. Love says, I see you, I feel you, I welcome you, and I do not need to grasp you to know you are real. Surrender, then, is not giving up. It is letting go of the tension that says this must happen now, or I am not okay. Surrender whispers, I allow this to unfold in perfect timing. The paradox is that the less you grasp, the faster it flows. Because desperation sends out a signal of lack, but loving surrender broadcasts the frequency of already having. Imagine holding your vision like you would hold a bird in your hand. Clutch it too tightly, and it suffers. Hold it gently, and it stays willingly. The same is true with your dream. When you love it without needing it to validate your worth, it comes closer. When you trust its arrival, even before the evidence appears, you open the doorway for synchronicity. To rush in, begin each morning with a moment of devotion. Not to effort, but to alignment. Look at the image of your desired future. Breathe deeply. Say to yourself, I love this vision. I trust this vision. I allow it to unfold in the way that serves my highest good. There is no need to force, no urgency to compare, no pressure to perform. Just a loving gaze, a steady presence, and an unshakable sense of knowing. This is the true power of magnetic observation. It is not about staring harder. It is about feeling deeper, softer, clearer. And from this space, everything begins to move. The field responds not to the one who pushes hardest, but to the one who aligns most purely. You are not manifesting by effort. You are manifesting by allowing. And this shift from force to flow, from control to surrender, is what prepares you for the next level of creation. Because once you no longer chase your reality, but invite it with presence, you step into the realm of true co-creation. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. This is where we now journey next, into part 4, the power of loving, observation, and why surrender is the ultimate shortcut to everything you desire. The more tightly you try to grip reality, the more it wriggles out of your grasp. Control is often mistaken for strength, but in the quantum realm, it is resistance in disguise. The energy of control whispers a hidden message to the field. I don't trust this will come unless I force it. And that vibration of mistrust becomes the very block that slows or even repels your desires. Imagine holding water in your hand. If you cup your palm gently, the water rests peacefully. But if you clench your fist, trying to hold more, the water escapes through every crack. Control creates friction. It signals to the universe that you believe something is missing, that you're afraid of not having, that you're bracing for disappointment. That signal becomes your point of attraction. What you fear, you energize. What you resist, persists. In the attempt to grasp, you confirm lack, and the field responds accordingly. Think of someone craving love. They constantly check their phone, analyzing every message, waiting for a reply with anxious eyes. That energy, though understandable, is rooted in not enoughness. It broadcasts a vibration that says, I am without. And even if love knocks at the door, the energy will quietly push it away, because nothing flourishes in the soil of desperation. Control is not clarity. It is the fog that clouds your signal. But when you shift from grasping to allowing, from urgency to trust, the fog lifts. Your desire no longer becomes something you're chasing. It becomes something you're aligning with. The paradox is beautiful. The moment you stop needing it to happen now, you open the space for it to arrive in perfect timing. The field is always listening, but it listens not just to what you want. It listens to the energy you bring. And control, though loud, often sends the wrong message. True power lies not in gripping tighter, but in softening your gaze. Not in trying harder, but in trusting deeper. That which you try to control ends up controlling your emotions, your peace, your focus. But that which you observe with love, with patience, with clarity, naturally begins to move toward you. Because there's no resistance left to push against. What you lovingly allow flows to you with grace. And so the question becomes, what would it feel like to see your vision clearly without clinging to it? What if the path to creation wasn't effort, but ease? That is where we now go, into the art of soft focus, into the next segment, where vision becomes reality, not through force, but through presence. True manifestation is never about chasing, earning, or convincing reality to give you something. It's about dissolving the illusion of separation between who you are and what you desire. Visualization, when done with clarity and emotional resonance, is not a tool to request from the universe. It is the doorway through which you shift your identity into alignment with your desired outcome. You don't visualize to pull it closer. You visualize to feel it now, to embody its essence so fully that the external world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. This is the frequency of being, not becoming. Imagine this. A speaker closes their eyes each morning, not to beg for an invitation, but to feel the aliveness of standing on that stage. The warmth of the lights, the quiet buzz of the room, the expansion in their chest as they share their truth. They feel it because they love it, because it is already part of them. And that emotion, that vibrational match, becomes the magnet for opportunities that naturally meet them. When you visualize from a place of lack, you activate the gap. When you visualize from fullness, you collapse the distance. The field does not need to be convinced. It responds to the clarity of your embodiment. That is why the practice is so simple, yet so powerful. Close your eyes. Picture a scene from your desired future. Maybe it's you laughing on a balcony, sipping tea as the morning sun pours in. Maybe it's your hands on the wheel of a car you once dreamed of, or a moment of quiet peace where everything just feels right. Now breathe. Feel the joy, the ease, the love. Let it wash through your body like it's already here, because on the quantum level, it is. This is not about hoping. It's not about pushing. It's about letting the vision live inside you so deeply that it begins to shape the signals you emit without you trying. Visualize not to get, but to become. Not to manipulate reality, but to fall in love with the version of you who already has it. Because when you become it on the inside, reality reorganizes to match. This is how energy works. This is how creation flows. And yet, even with this deep practice, there will be moments when old emotions rise. Doubt, fear, frustration. They're not the enemy. They're invitations. So the next question is not how to get rid of them, but how to remain centered when they appear. How do you hold the loving gaze when the emotional storm begins to stir? That is where we go next. Even the clearest vision can be shaken by unexpected emotion. That does not mean you failed. It means you're human. The truth is, your emotional state will shift. Waves will rise. Doubts may whisper. The power does not lie in preventing these waves, but in staying centered while they pass. Manifestation is not the absence of negative emotion. It is the choice to remain rooted in your vision despite those emotions. Think of a lighthouse in a storm. It doesn't try to calm the ocean. It simply stands unwavering, sending light through the chaos. You are that lighthouse. When disappointment arises, observe it. When fear surfaces, breathe into it. You don't have to suppress or analyze. You simply notice. And then you return your gaze. Imagine someone who just received a rejection email after a job interview. They feel the sting of it, the doubt trying to creep in. But instead of spiraling, they pause. They say quietly, "I see you, disappointment, but I still choose to believe in what I'm creating." They breathe. They reconnect with the vision. And a few weeks later, a new opportunity arrives, one that's a better match than what they had imagined. That is the power of holding the vision through emotional turbulence. It's not about being emotionally numb. It's about emotional neutrality. You can feel sadness without collapsing into it. You can acknowledge fear without becoming it. And that ability to hold your gaze, to stay connected to the version of reality you are cultivating, sends a signal of stability and faith to the field. You become magnetic, not through perfection, but through consistency. Try this simple practice. When a strong emotion arises, place your hand over your heart. Say silently, "I see you, but I'm still choosing the future I love." Take a slow breath. Inhale trust. Exhale control. Let the emotion pass like weather. Then, return your inner eyes to the dream. Each time you do this, you train your nervous system to stay aligned, even when the winds of doubt blow. You become the calm in the middle of your storm. And when that happens, manifestation becomes less of a practice and more of a presence. It is no longer something you do, but something you are. You are no longer chasing alignment. You are living it. And from that place of inner steadiness, you are ready to rise into a new level of creation. Not by force, not by fixing, but by allowing life to meet the version of you who has already become it. That's where we go next. Once you've learned to hold your vision through the waves of emotion, the next evolution is subtle but profound. It is the moment you stop gripping the outcome and begin to trust its unfolding. This is the art of surrender, not as defeat, not as apathy, but as deep alignment with the knowing that what you are calling in is already making its way to you. Surrender does not mean you stop acting. It means you stop acting from fear. You still visualize, you still move forward, but you no longer push. You no longer chase. You no longer grasp. You simply walk in the direction of your desire with relaxed certainty, as if it were already yours. Because in the quantum field, it is. Surrender is the difference between swimming against the current and floating with it. One leaves you exhausted. The other moves you further with less effort. Most people confuse surrender with giving up, but giving up is hopelessness. Surrender is trust. It is a quiet confidence that says, "I've done my part, and now I allow life to meet me." Imagine a writer who completes a script and submits it for review. Instead of obsessively checking emails or doubting whether it will be accepted, they return to their day with a calm heart. They cook dinner. They walk under the sun. They live. That simple choice of not clinging becomes a magnet for results. And often, the opportunity arrives when they least expect it. Why? Because their frequency is one of wholeness. They're not vibrating from lack or urgency. They're emanating fullness. This is the essence of powerful surrender. It is not inactivity. It is spacious energy. It is sending the message to the universe that says, "I don't need to fight for this because I already know it's on the way." That level of surrender calibrates your field to receptivity. You become open, soft, attuned. And in that softness, life finds you. The paradox is that letting go of control is what gives you true influence. You become the one who no longer needs to force results because your energy is already living the outcome. Try this simple reminder when you find yourself clinging to control. Place a hand on your chest and say gently, I trust the process. I release the how. I receive what's mine in perfect time. Then breathe and return to the moment. The more you practice this state of inner surrender, the more your outer world shifts to reflect that ease. You'll begin to notice synchronicities, gentle alignments, unexpected support. Because surrender tunes you into the natural intelligence of the field, where everything already exists in divine coordination. And as you embody that, you become a clear vessel for miracles to arrive through grace, not struggle. You step out of resistance and into resonance. And from that new energetic posture, you are ready to enter the next stage of creation, not through effort, but through coherence with the current of life itself. That is where we now turn. Now that you've remembered the power of surrender, the path gently opens into its highest expression, the flow state of manifestation, where the force of creation is no longer driven by effort, but by love. This is not the love that grasps or clings, but the love that allows, that trusts, that holds the vision gently, like a seed cradled in warm soil. In this state, you are no longer trying to make things happen. You are no longer chasing signs or decoding outcomes. Instead, you are present. You are soft. You are radiant in your stillness. You become the frequency of what you desire without needing to declare it over and over, because your energy already speaks the language. When you look at your dream, whether it's a home, a partner, a creative goal, and you feel unconditional appreciation for its beauty, regardless of when or how it arrives, you become a vessel of coherence. There is no tension in your field, no resistance clouding your signal, just clarity, presence, and a subtle joy. Think of it like holding a photo of a loved one. You don't need them physically near to feel the warmth of your love. That love is already real, already vibrating, already shaping the field. This is the sacred secret of quantum manifestation. It's not about commanding reality. It's about embracing it into form with the tenderness of your attention. You don't need to wait until the dream comes true to feel whole. You feel whole now. You smile now. You breathe now. You align now. And in doing so, you collapse the distance between you and what you thought you lacked. Practice this. Each morning or evening, bring your desired vision to mind, not with urgency, but with devotion. Gaze at it with the same affection you'd offer a blooming flower. Let your heart whisper, "Thank you for existing, whether or not I hold you yet." Feel the joy not of acquiring, but of appreciating. This is the vibration that reshapes timelines. It's what opens portals. It's what turns a simple vision into a magnetic signal. Reality responds not to need, but to love. The kind of love that isn't demanding a result, but celebrating the connection. And as you continue to cultivate this flow, you'll find the journey itself becomes the reward. You're no longer waiting for the future. You're living inside it energetically. And from this place, creation becomes effortless. This is the essence of flowing manifestation, where every thought is dipped in grace, every intention is softened by trust, and every outcome is held in the spaciousness of love. And now, as you carry this gentle mastery into the next phase, you are ready to face what most people fear: emotional turbulence. But you will not fear it, because part 5 is not about escaping emotion. It's about anchoring deep stability within it. Real peace is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of clarity within it. Most people believe that stability means no longer feeling anxious, no longer experiencing sadness, no longer getting angry. But that belief only creates more resistance, because emotions are not the problem. Being swept away by them is. True peace is when you can feel the full range of emotion and still remember who you are. It's not that you stop feeling, it's that you stop forgetting. Forgetting your vision, forgetting your power, forgetting the observer. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, wind whipping around you, clouds swirling overhead, yet in your center, there is a stillness. That stillness is not silence from the sky. It is your rooted presence within it. That is the energy of emotional mastery. You don't get there by suppressing feelings or pretending they don't exist. You arrive there by meeting every wave of emotion with awareness. Sadness arises. You greet it. Anger flares. You see it. Fear surfaces. You breathe through it. In each moment, you remain the witness, not the storm. That is where real resilience is born. And it's important to understand that this isn't a mental trick. It's a practice of inner anchoring. Because even when your body reacts, even when your chest tightens or your stomach churns, you can hold the frequency of clarity. You can gently remind yourself, this too is energy. I can feel it without becoming it. And this is not just spiritual philosophy. It is neuroscience and quantum physics working together. When you remain present inside an emotion without reacting or repressing, you rewire your nervous system and recalibrate the energetic signal you emit. That means your field doesn't spiral downward with the emotion. It stays aligned with your vision. And when that happens, the emotion can rise, pass through, and dissolve without derailing your direction. This is what allows people to keep showing up even after setbacks, to stay open even after disappointment, to remain clear even when everything outside feels foggy. Imagine giving a talk and someone in the audience criticizes you. The old pattern might tighten your chest and make you doubt yourself, but the observer breathes, nods inwardly, and holds the vision. You walk off stage, yes, feeling something, but instead of spiraling into self-judgment, you simply say, that was a moment, but I'm still becoming who I choose to be. That is power. Not the power to control every emotion, but the power to remain sovereign within them. This is emotional freedom. This is the peace that manifests realities. And this is the skill you are now developing, not as a technique, but as a way of being. Feelings will come. Let them move through, but let your vision remain. Let your gaze stay clear. Let your frequency stay steady. That is the art. That is the practice. That is the shift from reaction to creation. And to take this further, we must now look at the biological engine behind your emotional waves. Because your nervous system, your body's command center, holds the keys to staying regulated, balanced, and anchored, even in chaos. So in the next segment, we go deeper into the intelligence of your inner wiring, into how your body reacts, and into how you can reprogram it to serve your highest frequency. You've just seen that peace is not about removing emotion, but about remaining clear within it. And now we must go deeper into the source of that clarity, the body itself. Because real emotional mastery is not just a mental game. It's not about how well you recite affirmations or how clearly you understand your past. It's about whether your nervous system feels safe in the present. That's where the real shift happens. You can say all the right words, think all the right thoughts, but if your body is still bracing for attack, still locked in patterns of protection, still frozen from wounds it hasn't fully released, then your energy stays stuck in survival. And the field does not respond to your words. It responds to your vibration. That vibration begins in the nervous system. Every time you were ignored, yelled at, betrayed, or left behind, your body took notes. And even now, when you hear a sharp tone, feel a delay in response, sense tension in a room, your system lights up. Not because you're overreacting, but because you're still wired for survival. This is not weakness. It is memory. And that's why manifestation doesn't work through willpower alone. You don't manifest through mindset. You manifest through embodiment. And embodiment means feeling safe enough to relax into the frequency you want to live in. So when your body is in fight, flight, or freeze, and your thoughts say, stay calm, there's a conflict. Your mind tries to affirm abundance, but your breath shortens, your shoulders tense, your heart races. And that's the energy the field listens to, not the sentence, but the signal. So the path back is not to shout louder affirmations. It's to whisper safety to your body, to let your body know it no longer has to fight, it no longer has to run. You're not in the past anymore. You're here, and you're safe. That's why tools like conscious breathing, grounding your feet, placing your hand on your chest, or pausing to feel the support of the chair beneath you are not just wellness rituals. They are energetic recalibrations. They teach your system what peace feels like. And the more often you return to that feeling, the easier it becomes for your body to choose presence over panic. Imagine this. Someone who was harshly criticized as a child is now an adult in a meeting. A colleague offers feedback. It's neutral, but their palms sweat, their voice shakes, their stomach turns. Why? Because their nervous system doesn't know the danger has passed. But if they take one breath, then another. If they place a hand gently on their chest and simply whisper internally, I see you and we are okay, they begin to rewrite that wiring. Not overnight, but breath by breath. That's how you bring your energy out of defense and into alignment. That's how you shift your baseline frequency from fear to safety, from reaction to clarity, from reactivity to creation. And when your nervous system feels safe, your manifestation becomes fluid, because you're no longer leaking energy into old stories. You're no longer reacting from history. You're creating from presence. This is the foundation for lasting peace, not just when life is smooth, but especially when it's not. And now that you understand where emotional chaos begins at the level of the nervous system, the question becomes, what do you do in the moment the emotion rises? What do you do when fear surges, when sadness tightens your chest, when anger rushes through your veins? That's where your power meets practice. So in the next segment, we explore a simple but transformative method, one that doesn't suppress, doesn't deny, but gently brings you home to stability. It begins with 3 sacred actions: pause, breathe, witness. Now that you understand the nervous system is the silent conductor behind your emotional responses, the next question becomes, what can you actually do in the heat of the moment? When your body is flooded, your thoughts are racing, and your energy is spiraling, you need something simple, immediate, and powerful enough to interrupt the storm. And that tool is not a complex ritual or a lengthy routine. It's just 3 sacred steps that can create miracles when practiced with intention. Pause, breathe, witness. These 3 words are not just actions. They are doorways. They are keys that unlock the gap between stimulus and reaction, where your power truly lives. The first step, pause, means doing absolutely nothing for just a few seconds. No speaking, no reacting, no rushing to respond. Just stop. In that silence, you create space. Then breathe, deeply, slowly. 3 conscious breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, feeling the air touch your insides, reminding your body that it is safe. And finally, witness. Observe the emotion rising like a wave, not from within it, but from the shore. You do not need to label it, fix it, or suppress it. Just see it, acknowledge it, and in doing so, you disarm its grip. What you witness without judgment loses its power to control you. Imagine this. You receive a sharp message that stings. Your chest tightens. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to strike back. But you pause. You breathe. You witness the flood of emotion and say to yourself, "This is anger. I feel it, but I am not it." And with that space, you reclaim your energy. You don't get dragged into drama. You don't create a spiral. You return to center. This technique is not about emotional avoidance. It's about energetic mastery. It allows you to remain the observer, even when the waves are high. And over time, as you practice these 3 steps consistently, your body learns a new pattern. Reactivity softens, presence deepens, and you stop being ruled by external chaos because you've built an inner anchor. Remember, it only takes 3 seconds to break a lifetime of reactivity. 3 seconds of conscious presence can rewrite decades of unconscious defense. And here's the real secret. The universe doesn't require you to be perfectly calm or endlessly joyful. It only requires one thing: clarity. If you can stay clear in your vision, even while feeling messy, even while tears fall, even while doubt whispers, your manifestation stays on course. Emotions don't sabotage your creation. Losing sight of your desired frequency does. So next time your body trembles, or your voice shakes, or your chest tightens, don't panic. Pause, breathe, witness, and remember who you really are. You are not the fear. You are the one who sees the fear. You are not the story. You are the one who chooses which story to keep alive. And from this space, every future becomes possible. Because the field doesn't respond to your noise. It responds to your alignment. And alignment lives in the gap between stimulus and response. So when you build that gap into your daily experience, you are no longer surviving your emotions. You are sculpting your reality. And as you learn to observe without losing focus, you also begin to understand this subtle truth: emotion is never the problem. Emotion is energy. It moves. It flows. It speaks. The only thing that ever blocks your manifestation is when you lose the signal, when you let the emotion hijack the gaze. So hold the vision, let the waves pass, and stay rooted in the truth that your inner stillness is your greatest creative force. In the next segment, we'll deepen this clarity and unlock the frequency that keeps you aligned no matter what: emotional stability, not as a technique, but as a way of being. Once you begin practicing the sacred pause, the mindful breath, and the gentle witnessing of emotions, a new layer of truth begins to reveal itself. The feeling is not your enemy. Emotion, when allowed to move freely, becomes a doorway, not a blockage. You do not need to silence your feelings in order to manifest. You do not need to bypass sadness, anger, fear, or doubt. What truly matters is not whether you feel a certain way, but whether you forget the vision you're holding while feeling it. The problem is never the wave that rises. The problem is losing sight of the shore. Real mastery is not about constant stillness. It is about clarity in motion. To manifest a new life, you don't need to become emotionally flawless. You need to become emotionally anchored. You need to remember, again and again, what you are aligning with, especially when the storm comes. Imagine someone healing from deep wounds of the past. Every day, emotions rise. Some days grief, other days a sudden anger, on others a quiet ache they can't name. And yet, through all of it, they keep their gaze steady on a life of peace, connection, and joy. They don't deny the feelings. They sit with them, breathe through them, and still choose to believe in what they are creating. 1 year later, their entire vibration has shifted, not because they never felt pain, but because they never abandoned the direction of their gaze. That is the work. That is the alchemy. This is how emotional permission becomes power. Because what you resist grows stronger, but what you witness with clarity dissolves. The field doesn't need your perfection. It needs your consistency. It needs your willingness to return to your vision again and again, no matter what shows up in your inner world. Manifestation is not a test of emotional purity. It is a practice of energetic remembrance. It is the art of saying, yes, this sadness is here, but I still see love. Or, yes, this fear is loud, but I still believe in my dream. And in those moments of remembrance, you become magnetic. You begin to align not just with a desire, but with your destiny. Because the frequency you live in most of the time is what bends the reality around you. And that frequency becomes stronger every time you feel deeply without losing your gaze. Every time you cry and still whisper, I trust, you shift the code of your timeline. Every time you tremble and still choose faith, you rewrite the energetic path beneath your feet. There is a quiet strength in choosing your vision repeatedly, especially on the days it feels furthest away. And that choice is not made once. It is made daily, hourly, breath by breath. It is made when your nervous system shakes and you stay, when your heart breaks and you breathe, when the world distracts you and you close your eyes and remember. That is what it means to feel fully and not lose your gaze. You become the lighthouse, not the wave. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, until clarity becomes your default. Until you no longer search for alignment, you are alignment. And as this becomes your embodied truth, you begin to awaken a deeper identity. Not just someone trying to manifest a better life, but someone remembering their nature as the observer, the creator, the anchor. This is not just emotional maturity. This is vibrational command. And when you hold your gaze like this through all weather, you step into a new realm of power. The kind of power that does not force or fix or fear, but simply sees. And what you see with unwavering love and clarity must eventually become form. That is the unspoken law of the quantum field. And so we continue now, deeper into the path of emotional stability, where the observer is no longer practicing presence. It has become presence itself. And as you continue to feel without forgetting, to observe without wavering, something profound begins to take shape within you. You realize that stability was never about feeling calm all the time. It was never about waiting for emotions to settle before you could act. True stability is not a mood. It is not a temporary emotional state. It is a frequency you commit to. It is a vibration you anchor into with intention. Again and again, no matter what the surface feels like. You do not find stability by avoiding the chaos. You embody it by choosing your ground in the middle of it. The most powerful creators are not the ones who never feel shaken. They are the ones who remember who they are while shaking. They do not wait for the external to validate their vision. They become the source of stability that everything else begins to orbit around. Like a lighthouse standing tall in the storm, they shine not because the sky is clear, but because they chose to stay lit. Picture someone building a vision, navigating market changes, uncertainty, setbacks, and doubt. Every day, they still return to their intention. I know what I am creating matters. That clarity becomes their home frequency. That steadiness in their energy begins to shape the reality around them. Because the field always listens to your consistency. It is not moved by fleeting excitement. It responds to the emotional posture you return to the most. And you get to choose that. You get to set that vibration each morning. You can wake up, decide, today, I remember. Today, I anchor. Today, I hold the gaze. That becomes your vibrational commitment. And when your commitment is clear, reality starts to rearrange itself around it. So start your day with an anchor. Choose a phrase that brings you back to the center. Something simple, something true. Like, no matter what today brings, I remain clear, or I trust what I am becoming. Write down the vision you are aligning with. Repeat it softly when emotions try to cloud your view. Let your nervous system recognize the frequency of stability as a safe place to return. You are not trying to escape emotions. You are learning to lead them. And this leadership starts by choosing your inner stance before the world gives you permission. It's the decision to remain calm, even if clarity has not yet arrived. The choice to stay rooted when things feel uncertain. Because that choice, made over and over, becomes your dominant signal. And your dominant signal becomes your lived reality. You are not here to react to every shift in energy. You are here to become the frequency that shifts energy. And that kind of power does not shout. It does not force. It simply holds. It observes. It keeps showing up with love and intention until the outer world mirrors the inner one. So no, you do not wait for stability. You generate it. You do not look for signs to believe. You believe, and then the signs appear. This is how you stop practicing manifestation and begin embodying it. Not as a method, but as your natural state of being. You become the living signal. The reality you want to create is no longer something you visualize. It is something you radiate. And as this becomes who you are, you cross a threshold. You no longer chase alignment. You are alignment. And from this place, a new chapter begins. A chapter where your thoughts, emotions, and body move in harmony. Where manifestation is not a tool, but a reflection of the version of you who already knows. You have learned to hold the vision. You have learned to steady your gaze. And now, you are ready to become the vision itself. Welcome to Part 6, Embodiment. Every moment you live is a fork in the quantum field, and every response you offer is a signal that reverberates through the timeline you're stepping into. It's not just the big decisions that shape your life. It's the small, often invisible choices, the way you respond to a delay, the way you breathe through a conflict, the way you return to presence when someone pulls you off center. Each moment offers a vote. Each vote directs energy, and that energy builds momentum toward a specific reality. You are not reacting randomly. You are programming outcomes with every emotional broadcast. So the next time someone interrupts your flow, notice what rises in you. That flash of irritation is not wrong. It's just a habit echoing from an older self. But in that instant, you have a choice. You can feed the echo, or you can pause, breathe, and send a new signal. That signal, subtle as it may feel, is not weak. It is powerful. It tells the universe, I'm no longer ruled by reaction. I am anchored in awareness. I am casting my vote for the version of me who responds with clarity, not chaos. This is how timelines shift. Not with dramatic events, but with quiet moments of consciousness. A single smile instead of a snap. A breath instead of a breakdown. A soft gaze instead of a harsh word. These moments may seem small, but they are the seeds of a new world, and they compound. The more you choose presence over pattern, the more the energy around you reorganizes. You start to notice fewer conflicts, more synchronicities, less resistance, more alignment. Because the field you live in is simply reflecting back the vibration you choose the most often. Your power is not in controlling the world. It's in learning how not to be controlled by it. That is what makes you magnetic. That is what makes your manifestation signal pure. And it begins with simple awareness, noticing the moment, witnessing the urge, choosing differently, over and over, until that new choice becomes your default, until it becomes so natural that your inner world no longer wavers when the outer world shakes. This is what emotional mastery truly is. It's not about suppressing feelings. It's about staying in your center while they move through. And when you do this consistently, you step into a new timeline. One where you are not only creating reality, you are doing so with grace. You become the calm in the storm, the clarity in the noise, the presence that transforms energy just by being there. And if that kind of power feels far away, start with the next moment. One breath, one pause, one vote. Your future is not arriving someday. It is responding now. And every vote counts. So ask yourself gently each day, what am I voting for with this reaction? And if the answer isn't aligned, know that you can choose again and choose again. Until your vibration speaks so clearly, reality has no choice but to listen. And to hold that vibration steady, especially when the day gets noisy, you need a foundation. Something that centers you before the world demands your attention. That foundation begins with your morning routine. The way you begin your morning is not a routine. It is a declaration to the universe of who you believe yourself to be. Long before the world asks anything of you, long before notifications flood your screen or tasks pull you outward, there is a sacred moment where your vibration is still soft, still fluid, still programmable. And in that moment, you hold the brush to paint the energy of your day. But if you reach for your phone first, letting headlines, opinions, and distractions flood your mind, you are not choosing, you are being chosen. You are not directing your frequency, you are absorbing one. The observer does not begin the day in reaction. The observer begins in remembrance. Remembrance of what truly matters. Remembrance of the inner compass. Remembrance of the version of you who is already living, the timeline you desire. So before the mind rushes in, before you check what others need, stop, breathe. Place your hand gently on your heart and feel the quiet pulse of life that is already flowing. That is the real beginning of your day. Not when the clock strikes, not when work starts, but when you return to your center. When you become aware that your gaze holds power, that your presence carries intention, that you are not a passenger, you are a programmer of possibility. In these first minutes of the morning, allow yourself to be still. Let your body feel grounded. Let your breath soften and stretch. Let every inhale be a reminder that you are safe. Let every exhale release the need to rush. And then, if you are ready, step toward the mirror, not as a habit, but as a ritual. Look yourself in the eyes, not with judgment or critique, but with reverence. Speak softly and clearly, not to convince, but to remember. Say, I am the one who sees it becoming real. I do not chase. I do not doubt. I simply hold the vision. And feel what that means. Feel it not as a mantra, but as a truth you are stepping into. Because each time you repeat this ritual, you are not repeating words, you are tuning a frequency. You are establishing coherence between your mind, your body, and your timeline. You are no longer starting the day as the old self trying to manifest a new life. You are starting as the new identity who simply maintains alignment. That 10 minutes in the morning is not a technique. It is a tuning. It is a portal through which your energy passes, leaving behind yesterday's noise and stepping into today's clarity. The rest of the day may bring surprises, triggers, or tests, but when your foundation is strong, nothing outside you holds the steering wheel. You walk through your tasks, your conversations, your choices with the silent confidence of someone who already knows how it ends. Someone who knows that presence is the path. That softness is not weakness. That the way you begin determines how deeply aligned you remain. And when you do this daily, something subtle shifts. You stop performing your routine and you start becoming it. You stop practicing being the observer and you begin living as the observer. Not occasionally, not when it's easy, but as a state of being. And that state becomes your identity, not an act, not a role, a new frequency that radiates from within, steady, quiet, undeniable. And from that identity, everything changes. Your decisions flow differently. Your reactions dissolve. Your manifestations speed up, not because you are chasing harder, but because your signal is clearer. This is no longer just a morning ritual. This is the rebirth of who you are. And once that shift begins, what happens next is no longer just about doing the work. It becomes about embodying the vibration of someone who already knows it's working, who already feels the alignment before any evidence arrives. And that leads us to the next evolution, becoming the identity that doesn't try to manifest, but naturally magnetizes. There comes a moment in the journey where repetition becomes rhythm, and rhythm becomes identity. At first, you must remind yourself to pause, to breathe, to observe. You set intentions in the morning, you anchor your focus with rituals, and you consciously bring yourself back each time emotion or distraction pulls you away. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the effort fades and is replaced by a new baseline. You are no longer trying to remember to be present, you simply are. The inner voice that once had to guide you now becomes quiet, not because it disappeared, but because you no longer need the reminder. You've shifted. You've stepped out of the phase of practicing observation and into the embodiment of the observer. You are no longer someone doing techniques to stabilize your energy. You are the stability itself. You don't have to resist reacting because your natural state has become one of calm awareness. You don't have to recall quotes to stay aligned because alignment is now your default. This is the most profound transformation, not when your outer world changes, but when your inner identity recalibrates so deeply that the old patterns no longer feel like home. And it is not forced. It is not a performance. It is not something you have to keep up. It is who you are. You wake up, and instead of choosing peace, you realize you are peace. You move through the day, and instead of needing to manifest, you notice that reality begins to reflect your inner coherence without effort. The observer is not a character you play, it is your natural frequency. And that frequency begins to touch everything. Your presence affects rooms before you speak. Your silence speaks louder than noise. People feel calmer around you, not because you try to calm them, but because you carry an energy that is no longer reactive, no longer fragmented, no longer chasing. You have become a mirror-clear, steady, magnetic. And just like a tuning fork, your energy starts to entrain the world. Around you, opportunities match your call, conversations deepen, timing becomes more fluid. You start to witness synchronicities that feel less like miracles and more like echoes of your internal harmony. It is no longer about asking, scripting, or visualizing. To make something happen, it is about being in a frequency where what you desire naturally aligns with your field. You don't have to try to embody the observer when you've already become it. This embodiment allows you to move through life with a softness that is powerful and a strength that is quiet. There is no longer urgency in your tone, no longer grasping. In your vision, only clarity without tension. And this clarity becomes your compass. When emotions arise, you see them. When setbacks appear, you adjust without panic. When uncertainty visits, you breathe and stay centered. Because you are not chasing certainty, you are living from stability. And as this identity stabilizes, the people around you begin to feel it. Not because you preach, not because you teach, but because your energy is an invitation. You become a lighthouse in a world of waves, not flashing light with force, but simply standing tall, anchored, radiant. And the beauty of this identity shift is that it continues to deepen. The more you live as the observer, the more you discover layers of peace, awareness, and influence that were hidden beneath the noise of reactivity. And that influence is not about power over others. It is about coherence within yourself. It is not about controlling the external. It is about synchronizing with the internal. And when this identity becomes your home, you don't just walk through life, you harmonize with it. You don't just experience moments, you imprint them with presence. You are no longer trying to become. You are being, and that being ripples out far beyond what the mind can predict. And now, from this new place of embodiment, you begin to notice something else. You're not only changing yourself, you are quietly shifting the energy of the spaces you move through. And that opens the door to a greater influence, a silent leadership that extends beyond words. As you continue to live from the frequency of the observer, something remarkable begins to happen. Manifestation no longer feels like a separate task or an effort you reserve for certain moments in the day. It stops being a practice and starts becoming a presence. You are no longer visualizing to attract. You are living as the field itself. Every small choice, every breath, every glance becomes part of your creation. It's not about a perfect morning routine or a long meditation session, although those help. It's about the quiet decision you make in the elevator when your mind wants to spiral, but you return to presence instead. It's the pause at the sink while washing your hands, where you remember who you are and realign your gaze. It's in the moment you choose to say thank you instead of complain. In the instant, you hold space for someone instead of reacting. These micro choices, subtle and seemingly insignificant, are the true architects of your reality. Because quantum living is not loud, it is not flashy, it is not about what others see. It is about the vibration you hold when no one is watching. It is the energy you offer the moment, not because you want to control the outcome, but because you know you are the outcome. The observer no longer asks, "What should I do now?" The observer simply sees, breathes, and responds with quiet precision. Each interaction becomes intentional. Each moment becomes sacred. You are no longer waiting for a sign. You are becoming the sign. You are not asking if it's working. You are embodying the frequency that already knows. And that frequency, when stabilized in the smallest details of your life, shapes the largest shifts. You begin to notice that the more you choose this alignment in real time, the more synchronistic your life becomes. Messages arrive when needed. Opportunities flow with less resistance. People show up who match your inner clarity, but none of this is random. It is the natural reflection of a field responding to the smallest adjustments you've made in how you see, feel, and choose. You are now living in the quantum, not just thinking about it. And that means manifestation is no longer tied to effort. It is a byproduct of your awareness. You don't wait to manifest. You simply align, and manifestation follows. The line between intention and experience grows thinner. The gap between desire and fulfillment closes. Because you're no longer trying to reach something. You are letting reality emerge through you, shaped by your gaze, magnetized by your steadiness. You realize that the way you pour your coffee, the way you walk into a room, the way you answer a message, all of it carries the vibration of your future. You are casting your vote with your frequency, not your words. You are planting seeds with your presence, not your plans. This is quantum living, not later, not someday, but here and now, in your breath, your heartbeat, your focus. And the more consistently you choose to see through this lens, the more your identity stabilizes. Around it, you are no longer someone who manifests occasionally. You are someone who lives as the field of creation, continuously. You don't dip in and out of alignment, you remain rooted. And this rootedness creates a different kind of timeline. One that isn't driven by urgency, but by clarity. One that doesn't rely on effort, but on embodiment. You don't chase timelines anymore. You anchor them. You don't prove your worthiness. You express it through your gaze. You don't need everything to be perfect externally to feel peace internally. Because you've remembered that the observer doesn't need conditions to remain present. The observer creates conditions by staying present. And so, as you walk through your day with this awareness, you realize Manifestation is not an event, is a lifestyle. And this lifestyle is built not in the big dramatic moments, but in the smallest ones you used to overlook. These are the sacred pauses, the unseen alignments, the silent yes to the future you already feel. And now that you are no longer practicing the observer, but living as one, you are ready for the final step. The step where all timelines begin to respond. The step where possibility starts bending toward your gaze. Because the future is not waiting somewhere out there. It is listening here, right now, to the frequency you're radiating. And that is where we begin part 7. Every single time you place your attention on a possibility, you are not just imagining, you are energizing. In the quantum field, your gaze is not passive. It is participatory. It sends a signal, like a vote cast for the version in the future. You are choosing to empower. This is not metaphorical. This is physics woven into consciousness. The future is not waiting to happen. It is waiting to be selected. And your selection is made through repeated focus. Think of each gaze as a seed, dropped into the soil of time. The more you return to that seed with clarity, with trust, with presence, the more energy gathers around it. Energy does not follow random whims. It follows consistency. It gathers where you look again and again with conviction. So if you spend each day worrying about what might go wrong, fearing rejection, replaying doubts, you are not just experiencing stress, you are feeding timelines that match those frequencies. You are watering the weeds. But the opposite is also true. If you choose to hold your gaze on the version of you that is empowered, loved, purposeful, thriving, not once, but again and again, you begin to align your entire being with that future. It is not about being perfect or never slipping. It is about which version you return to. Which vision gets your energy when no one is watching. The field doesn't respond to your momentary emotions. It responds to your dominant signal. So ask yourself gently but honestly, what do you focus on most often? That is what you are growing. That is what you are rehearsing. That is what you are becoming. It might seem like nothing is happening when you visualize or hold a new possibility in your mind. But in truth, every time you revisit that inner image, with love and belief, something begins to take form. Not just in the invisible, but slowly, subtly, in the visible world around you. People begin treating you differently. Ideas begin arriving. Opportunities begin shifting direction. It is not because the universe is suddenly more generous. It is because you have chosen a different channel and tuned your entire self to it. You are not begging for a better future. You are embodying it now through your gaze. And the field responds. Always. It may take time for physical evidence to catch up, but the energy shifts immediately. So when you wake up tomorrow and your mind wants to spiral into doubt, pause and ask, what timeline am I watering right now? Because every thought is a brushstroke. Every vision is a signal. And every gaze is a declaration of what you believe is possible. The question is not whether the timeline exists. It already does. The question is, will you nourish it enough to let it bloom? And the answer is found in the one who looks, not just once, but with devotion. And when that gaze is saturated with certainty, something even more powerful happens. You begin living as if it has already arrived. And that is where we go next. If every gaze is a seed, then every action is the water that helps it grow. Once you've chosen the timeline you wish to energize, the next step is to stop waiting and start becoming. Not tomorrow, not when things align, but now, right here, in this moment, with whatever you have. Manifestation is not about pleading with the universe to deliver something outside of you. It's about embodying the version of yourself who already lives in the reality you desire. This is the quantum leap that most never dare to take, because it requires faith, not in a distant outcome, but in a present identity. The field responds not to hope, but to clarity, not to delay, but to demonstration. Ask yourself in the quiet of the morning or the stillness of your breath, how would my highest self think today? What would they focus on? What would they release? How would they walk into a room, speak to others, move through challenges, celebrate small wins, and then live from that place? Make choices from that energy. Speak from that center. This is not pretending. This is alignment. This is integrity with your becoming. It might feel unfamiliar at first. You may hear echoes of old doubts or feel the tug of past identities. But if you stay rooted in the vision you have chosen, your entire being begins to recalibrate. Your nervous system, your thought patterns, your habits, all begin to organize around this new identity. You are no longer someone trying to manifest something. You are someone living from the future now. And as you do, the external begins to shift in response. Opportunities that match your new frequency appear, not by magic, but by resonance. People who reflect your elevated identity begin to enter your world. Doors you once knocked on with hesitation now open with ease, not because they changed, but because you did. One of the most powerful things you can do is to stop waiting to feel ready and instead decide that you already are. Readiness is not a feeling, it is a frequency. And the field. You are in the quantum field that holds every potential, listens most clearly when you move as if the reality you desire is already here. So wear the clothes of the self you're becoming. Speak the words they would speak. Carry the presence they would hold. And do it not to force a result, but because it is who you truly are when all fear is stripped away. You are not faking it. You are remembering. You are not forcing a shift. You are activating what has always been within. When you embody your future self now, you don't chase outcomes, you attract alignment. You don't struggle for evidence, you radiate proof through your being. And the field, which always reflects the clearest frequency, will respond in kind, because it cannot resist congruence. It cannot ignore coherence. And you, when you walk with the energy of already, become a lighthouse that reality bends around. So begin today, not by trying harder, but by becoming quieter. Listen to the version of you that already knows how this ends, in peace, in purpose, in full expression. Let that voice guide you. Let those steps define you. Because when you live as if it has already happened, you are not just hoping for change. You are anchoring it. And now, the signal you are sending is unmistakable. This is who I am, and this is the world I choose to live in. And with that signal, the entire field begins to reorganize, matching your certainty with unfolding events. And that, right there, is the moment the quantum starts to respond in full. When you begin to live as your future self, something subtle, yet powerful begins to shift, not just in how you act, but in how you speak to reality itself. And one of the clearest signals you send is through your affirmations. But affirmations are not magic words. They are declarations of frequency. And the energy beneath your words determines whether you are magnetizing your desire or pushing it further away. There is a world of difference between saying, "I need this to happen," and declaring, "I know this is becoming real." One carries the weight of desperation. The other radiates the calm of certainty. Need is loud with fear. It vibrates lack. It says to the field, "This is not here yet, and I'm worried it won't come." But knowing is quiet, solid, and unwavering. It says, "I already trust this process, and I am aligned with the unfolding." When you affirm from need, you may repeat the right words, but the vibration behind them is chaotic. When you affirm from knowing, even a whisper carries power, because the field does not respond to repetition. It responds to resonance. So the real practice is not just repeating affirmations, but embodying the state that makes those words true. Instead of trying to convince yourself of something, allow your words to emerge from a place of remembering. You're not chanting to get something. You are declaring what already is inside you, around you, through you. A powerful affirmation spoken from fear is hollow, but a single sentence breathed from presence becomes a command that echoes through the fabric of possibility. Say to yourself each morning, I do not manifest by needing this. I manifest by knowing it is already mine. And then move through your day not as a seeker, but as a transmitter. This shift is subtle. It is not always visible, but your body will feel it. Your choices will reflect it. Your interactions will align with it. And soon, so will your external world. Because the frequency of knowing brings coherence. And coherence accelerates manifestation. Think of two people saying the same sentence. I will succeed. One says it with tension in their chest, hoping to believe it, clinging to the outcome. The other says it with a calm smile, heart steady, because every cell in their body already feels it is truth. Which one does the field respond to more clearly? Not the louder voice, but the clearer signal. When you affirm with knowing, you're not trying to force a result. You're aligning with the version of yourself who already knows how this ends. Your gaze becomes stable. Your breath becomes deeper. Your energy becomes magnetic. You stop searching for signs because your whole being has become the sign. You are no longer trying to create. You are simply acknowledging what is inevitable through the lens of vibration. And in that state, you are not wishing for a future. You are authoring one. You are no longer a participant in random circumstances. You are the one tuning the signal, crafting the frequency, holding the frame. And this is where the most empowered level of manifestation begins, not through effort, but through identity. Not through waiting, but through choosing. You are not here to beg the universe. You are here to meet it in full alignment. So speak not from hunger, but from remembrance. Declare not from lack, but from clarity. Affirm not to fill a void, but to amplify the presence of what is already real in your field. Because when your words arise from knowing, they do not just speak, they shape. And now, as you begin to live in that knowing, something profound happens. You are no longer reacting to timelines. You are guiding them. You are no longer seeking alignment. You are emitting it. You have stepped into the role not just of the observer, but of the conscious creator. When you begin to affirm from a place of knowing, something deeper awakens within you. A recognition that you are not just observing the field, you are participating in its design. Your thoughts are not passive. Your attention is not neutral. Every gaze you hold, every focus you sustain, acts like a line of code written into the quantum architecture of your experience. This is not metaphor. This is mechanics. The field does not move according to fate. It shifts according to frequency. And your frequency is not random. It is authored by the combination of what you see, how you feel, and what you do next. Your gaze is not just looking. It is instructing. The moment you lock eyes with a possibility and feel its truth in your body, you initiate a signal. That signal moves outward, carrying parameters defined by your emotional state. Is your gaze filled with fear or with trust? Is it wrapped in pressure or softened by peace? That emotional texture is not background noise, it is data. It tells the field what kind of outcome you're a match for. And when you follow that gaze with consistent action, aligned not with desperation but with certainty, you send a locking command. You are not just hoping for a timeline. You are selecting it. You are not merely drifting in the river. You are shaping its course with your presence. Think of a person who always dreamed of being a creator, but lived in hesitation. Their gaze was scattered. Their emotions were unstable. Their actions were inconsistent. And so, their timeline wobbled, uncertain and slow. But the moment they stepped into clarity, saw themselves as already becoming, and moved with congruent steps, the entire field rearranged. Not because the world changed, but because their code did. You do not manifest by convincing the field to give you something. You manifest by tuning your output until the only logical response from the field is to echo it back. You're not reacting to what's showing up. You are creating what shows up next. Every gaze you hold today is shaping the probabilities of tomorrow. Every emotional response you allow to pass without resistance becomes a refined parameter. Every small, faithful action is a signature that tells the quantum, this is real for me. You are not just a character in the simulation. You are one of the architects, writing new lines into the unfolding script with every choice you make. And the most powerful line of all is the one you hold consistently, not loudly, not perfectly, but unwaveringly. Your calm attention to what you love, your graceful return to it each time your mind wanders, your decision to anchor into trust when fear whispers its doubts. That is coding. That is power. That is how reality bends, not through chaos, but through coherence. Not through control, but through clarity. And when you live with this awareness, your life becomes less about chasing results and more about refining the signal. Less about fixing what is, and more about choosing what will be. Your gaze is not a request. It is a command when fueled by alignment, and your alignment is not a mood. It is a decision. You are not here to adapt to timelines that do not match your vision. You are here to author ones that do. So breathe into this knowing. Recognize that you are not simply participating in life. You are shaping it. You are not asking the field to respond. You are guiding it with every flicker of attention. This is the moment where your role expands. You are not reacting to reality. You are coding it. And if you are ready to embody that truth fully, then take one powerful action now. Choose your gaze and hold it. Because everything that follows will bloom from that simple, deliberate act. The future does not arrive randomly. It emerges through your gaze. Right now, in this very moment, countless timelines exist beside you, each carrying a different version of who you could become. They are not somewhere out there in the distance, waiting. They are waiting for your declaration. Your gaze is that declaration. It is the silent vote you cast with your focus. You are not passively moving through life. You are summoning the life that matches the frequency of what you are looking at. Each time you choose to see a new possibility, not just think about it, but truly feel it in your body, you begin to vibrate in harmony with that future. And when you do, something unseen yet deeply real begins to happen. The timelines that no longer match you begin to dissolve. The doors you've outgrown quietly close. The habits, people, patterns, and emotional loops that once defined your story begin to fade. Not because you pushed them away, but because you stopped feeding them with your attention. You don't need to fight the old. You just need to stop choosing it. And that choice happens now, not tomorrow. Not when you feel more ready. Now, the field responds not to delay, but to devotion. And devotion is a frequency, not a mood. It is the calm, clear returning of your gaze to the timeline that reflects your highest self, over and over. Even when the world tries to pull you into distraction. Even when old triggers whisper familiar doubts. Even when nothing outside of you has changed yet. Because when your gaze stabilizes, the field recalibrates. And when the field recalibrates, timelines shift. This is how collapse works. It's not dramatic. It's not explosive. It's quiet, almost imperceptible, like the flick of the switch inside you that says, I no longer live there. That old story? It's not your truth anymore. That fear? It's not your compass anymore. That version of you? It's not your identity anymore. So right here, right now, pause, breathe, Let your body soften. Gently close your eyes. See the future you've been longing for, not as a dream, not as a goal, but as a current reality you are aligning with. Feel it. Let it become more than a thought. Let it become a knowing. Then ask yourself with quiet honesty, am I willing to choose this gaze every day? If the answer is yes, not a desperate yes, but a grounded, steady yes, then something has already shifted. You have just collapsed a timeline. You have just empowered a new one. And the field is listening. Every time you return to that vision, even when nothing around you seems to support it, you are feeding it. You are choosing it. You are becoming it. And so, if something inside you is resonating right now, if you can feel the energy of this new frequency anchoring into your being, then let that ripple out. Tap like, not for approval, but as a signal that you feel this shift. Comment below with the words, I am choosing to see, and complete the sentence with the timeline you are stepping into. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's purpose. Maybe it's peace. Speak it and let others witness it with you. And if this path speaks to you, if you want to walk it with others who are choosing their gaze consciously, subscribe now. Because every week we return here not to learn something new, but to remember who we already are. And now, if your gaze feels stronger than ever before, if something deep inside you just said, yes, I'm ready, then prepare. Because in the next part, we enter the heart of the mystery. We explore the art of collapsing timelines, where your future self is not just waiting, they are already guiding you, and you'll feel them speaking through your own inner knowing, starting now.